The Distinguished Service Award is the highest honor that Farm Bureau bestows upon an individual. We reserve this honor for someone who has truly made a difference in the lives of Mississippi farmers.
My first experience with Farm Bureau was in Louisiana, actually. I bought a house, but fortunate and I got married 65 years ago, and I looked for a place to insure the house, and I insured it with Farm Bureau in 1947. And then they asked me, said, do you want to get involved in Farm Bureau? Would you want to be involved? And I said, yeah, I'd like to, with the limited amount of time I had in trying to get my place ready. And he said, well, we're going to elect you vice president in 1958. And in 1958, then the president then decided to move to California in 1959, and then I was elected, moved over and elected president in 59.
And that was the start of Louis Breaux's involvement with Farm Bureau that has lasted more than half a century. During that time, he has served in many capacities, including his time on a committee that drastically changed the course of Farm Bureau. The Growth Committee was a movement that expanded the scope of programs of Farm Bureau and the staff to help implement those programs. This took place in the 1970s and culminated in the building of a new state headquarters building in Jackson. For many years, Mr. Breaux was active in the resolutions process when it was a much longer meeting.
At the Resolution Committee for 3 days, the question was brought up about the next year in '69, they were celebrating the 50th anniversary of Farm Bureau. They had decided then to charter a DC-8. It was 100 and something folks that attended, had got on that plane and went to Washington, D.C. to celebrate the 50th anniversary.
Mr. Breaux also helped coordinate the annual Gumbo Festival held in Washington, D.C. for many years. It got its start as a local fundraiser for his parish church.
We had Trent Lott come to the festival, and he got up on the stage and says, you know, if we could just bring my comrades from Washington down here to enjoy the fellowship and the good gumbo, and they said they would really enjoy it. And then that night, I said, well, why not just bring it to him? And we brought about 20 people up there, and we cooked there and we served, and he did all the inviting, and then we just brought all the facilities up there.
Mr. Breaux has always been one to help others. During the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, Mr. Breaux organized the distribution of relief products that had been sent to Mississippi from the young farmers and ranchers of the Georgia Farm Bureau.
They had picked up a bunch of a whole truckload of groceries and stuff that the people needed here in this county. We set up right in front of our church, and then our driveway was about a quarter of a mile out there, and then when they came, we lined them up in the cars and told them, don't get out the car, just stay in the cars. And we had enough people in, the people that came with the truck, and then volunteers in that we would take them packages and package up enough different stuff to go for each household. And then we would put, without them getting out the car, we'd just put it in the car and they left.
He served this organization under 5 different presidents, but always with one goal in mind: the betterment of agriculture and Farm Bureau.
I can't really explain how much I think of Farm Bureau and the work that we've done. The staff was so small back then. It all depended on volunteer leaders. And to get a list of those that's already been named and know to be part of that list means a tremendous amount to me. I understand now that at 85, my generation was called to serve and to help Farm Bureau. We answered the call, we prayed, we worked, and we sacrificed for the betterment of this organization. And we're mighty proud of what we've done, and I'm proud of it, and I'm sure everybody else feels the same way about it.
And so we choose to award Farm Bureau's highest honor, the Distinguished Service Award, to Mr. Louis Breaux.
Congratulations, Mr. Lewis. We certainly appreciate your time and effort and devotion to Farm Bureau, and know none of this would be possible today without people like you back there to get it all started. So we'd like to give you the opportunity to say something if you'd like.
Whoa, I've been sitting down a long time. And I know those seats are getting mighty hard. I had, when I first started in Farm Bureau in 1959, I had a little folder and I wrote Farm Bureau on it. And I've been keeping up with all the activities we've had in Farm Bureau on a county level, state level, Washington level, to compile now. I've got 4 folders that some of them are about 2 inches thick and 1 inch thick. And it's something I treasure. It's something that I read on rainy days and bring back memories. But beside these articles, there's always something in the paper then that would kind of motivate me. Every time you'd go to American Farm Bureau Convention, it was all motivating speakers that would tell you, say, what I'm sitting here doing, I should be getting some more Farm Bureau members. And that's the way it was, and you get quotes. And before, here I am, 85, and fixing, don't know what to say, what not to say. And how long it's going to take me to make a fool of myself and embarrass my family. And I'm going to apologize for that right now. And my family's with me, and I'm sure I'll get them to stand up in a minute. But in these, going back before I developed macular degeneration, that I'm not seeing very well anymore. I can't even find the numbers on the phone to make a phone call. It took me 17 times to get on the phone to call my wife this morning before she got here. And that's a shame. And I told my daughter, I said, what will I be able to say? And for years then, I've been reading through these things, and I picked out 6 different articles that I wanted to comment on. But this thing has gone so long for today, I decided then to maybe go down to 4. And sitting there, and I need to go to the restroom, but I didn't go. And so I decided then to get down to 3. And then now I just got down to 2. But the very first annual meeting I attended was November of 1960. We had a meeting in November back then. The American was in December, and when they moved it up to January, we moved ours up to December. And the county agent picked me up, and I was the only voting delegate from Hancock County, and he picked me up and brought me here to the convention. It was at the Heidelberg, and naturally it was a lot smaller than it is today because there were so few members. And he knew everybody. The Extension Service was about as much a part of volunteer leadership back then. It was in a big way. So I didn't know anybody, so I had to attend just about every meeting of the voting delegates, and you had the Queen contest and the talk meet and the talent contest. And I still remember that day like it was yesterday. They had a young man from New Albany, Mississippi. I've never seen him before, never did see him since. And he, in his talent, he had a story that he wanted to tell. And the name of the story was, "This is my land, this is my democracy." And he started out, this piece of land that God gave me, it represents my past and my future to be. And if it could speak, it has a story to tell, and it would tell it quite well, because it's going through the virtue and tortures of hell. And this is my democracy. This is my land. This is my democracy. And to fulfill his obligation at the time, he had about 6 stanzas. And at the end of every stanza, he said, "This is my land. This is my democracy." And at the end, he ended it with, "When I die, I don't want you to have mercy on me, but to take a piece of this land and sprinkle over my body, for I want to be free." That really, really impressed me. And sat down and said, well, what am I involved with? This was about a year after I got involved with Farm Bureau. And I said, it's Farm Bureau it's a vehicle that brought him up to show his talents. And I'm sure as these people here on the stage today, he didn't pull no plow. And I think he wound up, I said that he could probably be governor if he really wanted to. But I thought of Farm Bureau and closed my eyes and said, it's such a great organization. It's got the Women's Committee, and it's got the Queen's Contest, the Talent Contest, and everything involved. And it's something to be able to say that I'm a part of. And in my mind, I said that in any way I could be of service to this organization, I certainly will. Little did I know, in the next year or two, and for 25 years later, I was named to just about every committee that you can even imagine, especially on the growth committee. And I don't know, my field man would put my name in there somewhere, because I know the president didn't know anything about me down there in Hancock County. And we just worked so hard, and I'm just losing my place here. But I came then across a quote, and in my file, and it's a quote that I've read so many times, I can still remember it. And it was a quote by Black, and he was nominated to the Supreme Court by Franklin Delano Roosevelt. And he said, at the end of your life, you should not be asked on how pleasant it was, but how much you served. And not how happy you were, but how much you gave to your community. And not how your ambitions may have been gratified, but how in love you served your fellow man. End of quote. It's a powerful, powerful statement. And as I think about working with Farm Bureau, and especially on the growth committee, that we visited about 9 states, and they informed us on what their programs were and what we were going to bring back to Mississippi. And we worked so close with the staff, and it was a lot smaller staff then. And when we got to other states, it was amazing then that we were the same people. And every time we had a meal, we said a prayer. And before we met, we asked God to bless our meeting, at those that were informing us, the informees, to think about it and pay attention, that it was going to mean a lot to Mississippi when we got back. And from that time, then it slipped my mind now to what I really wanted to say, and I knew I was going to mess up here somewhere. But when we got back, then, and working with 5 presidents, and just 3 of them, Mr. Bars, Mr. Hugh Arant and Mr. Waller. And when the last two come about, they had to put me out on grass. And you know why now, because I can't remember anything. And I was in the honorary position. But in looking back, I was thinking, was it a job? It was never a job. It was an occasion that we worked for our Farm Bureau. But it was never in a working capacity. But it's been my treasured privilege to be able to work and serve the Farm Bureau, to know that I was a small part of what it is today. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.